In this lesson, I discussed the vocabulary that we will be used in our lesson on creating a falling snow effect. And knowing the vocabulary will make it easier for you to follow as we go through the lesson. So our language system is ActionScript, and on the left you'll see the term, and these are things that are used in Flash, and then on the right you'll find the definition for those. Now you don't have to have them memorized, but you should be familiar. This is going to be used to refer to our root timeline, and it's going to be combined with our create empty movie clip. The instance name is going to work something like a variable. We're going to name something and be able to refer back to it. The depth is going to control the stacking order so that items are not stacked on top of each other. And a semicolon is going to be used to end statements in our code. And these three words will not be typed in our code, but you will see and hear me use those items as we go through the code. A function, this takes you back to high school math. This is going to contain parameters to tell the program what to do. The curly brackets are going to be used to open and close statements as well. And you'll see here we have this one that means open and this one that means close. And if you look on your keyboard, find the letter P and look to the right of it, and you'll find those curly brackets. You get to those by pressing the Shift key. A variable is just going to store information for us, and we're going to create a couple of variables in our code. I is going to give us a random number, and then I++ will increase the value of that random number by 1. And you'll see how that works in our code. Math.random is going to call a number between 0 and 1, and this is going to help us randomize items in our code. So here's an example of randomizing a number between 0 and 10. So if the number between 0 and 1, if we start and say that it's 0, then 0 times 10 would be 0. And if the number is 1, 1 times 10 is 10. So we have a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 10 by doing that. Now we could add something out here to change the minimums and maximums, like +5 or +10 or whatever we wanted. And that's actually how we'll use it in the code. T._x is the horizontal position on the stage. T._x equals math.random times stage.width is going to be how we randomize the snowflakes appearing horizontally. T._y is our y value on the stage, but we will not randomize this. Set interval will run the function at a specified rate, and this will be measured in milliseconds. Attach movie is a command that attaches our movie clip to the stage, and that's the movie clip you made in the other lesson. Now I want to review the code line by line here so you can see how the items work together. This .create empty movie clip is going to create our movie clip on the root timeline, and we're going to give it an instance name, and this is where you won't see the word instance name typed, but this is the example of it. Canvas_MC is our instance name, and you'll see us refer back to that in the code. The 10 refers to the depth, and this number just needs to be higher than what the root timeline is, which is 0. Here's a variable I that we're going to set equal to 0, and remember we're going to create a couple of variables. My interval equals set interval. This is how we set the interval for our snowflakes. The my interval is just a name. Set interval is the actual method. This is what actually carries out the commands for us. So add flake, this will make more sense when we get into the video for the code. And over here, this 500 is the time that it appears. So if this is milliseconds, remember that 1,000 milliseconds is a second. So if I had 1,000 here, it would appear every second. Now I have 500, so the snowflakes are going to appear every half second. And you can test these numbers to see what you like best for your effect. Function add flake, this is where we begin to create the function. We give it a name here, then we use these two parentheses behind it. Now we have our first open bracket, and then we have two open brackets actually, and you'll see why when we actually go through the code. This if statement is going to help us control how many snowflakes are on the stage at one time. So if it's less than 10, it's going to keep adding clips, but when it gets over that, then it'll stop, then it'll start again. And you can test this number to see what you prefer to have. This line, we have another variable created, and that variable is t, and we call it movie clip. And now we have an instance name of canvas_MC. Remember that was in the first line of code that we had. And it's going to attach that empty movie clip to the stage for us. And so we have snowflake here. This is the first movie we made. And now we have the flake plus I. And then the canvas underscore MC is again the instance name referring back to that movie clip. And now we're telling it to get the next highest depth. This is a command that will help us help the program not pick the same number for each one, or put each snowflake at the same depth. The I++ is going to add 1 to our random number that starts at 0. This line of code is how we're going to randomize the size of the movie clips on the stage. So you notice we do that with t._x scale, and these are in percentages. So here's how we're going to use that math.random function. It's going to call a number between 0 and 1. We're going to multiply it by 90, add 10 to it. So this particular line of code is going to give us a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 100. So if the random number is 0, 0 times 90 is 0, plus 10 would be 10. If that random number is 1, 1 times 90 is 90, plus 10 is 100. And that's how we randomize the size of the clips. This next line of code will randomize where the snowflake appears horizontally. And again, we've got that math.random function. And it's going to call a number between 0 and 1 again, and it's going to multiply it by the stage on the width, and that's how that snowflake will be placed horizontally. And remember, we said we do not want to randomize the Y value because we want it to start in one place, which is at the top of our stage, and then we want it to fall as if we were outside and it was snowing. And then we have 2 curly brackets to close off our code. And that's the code that we're going to type. And so you notice it's not a lot of code, but it could be challenging. And this is what your code will look like once you are complete. And this will be all done inside of the ActionScript. And once you get to this point, you should be able to press Control Enter in Flash and test your movie, and you should have some snow. Now we will do a couple of different things to this code that I didn't mention. However, if you understand what's going on right now, it'll make it a little easier for you when you watch the video.